Today I saw both the Garfield movies, Garfield and its sequel, Garfield: A Tale of Two Kitties. Whew, well, back to the grind. Mondays, am I right? Mondays. It's Saturday. Yes, thank you for that.
Why does Garfield hate Mondays?
I don't know. Don't talk to me. Please, I don't want to be reminded of that video. Both the movies feel pretty much the same, which is just not very good. I mean, I watched both these movies as a kid, so they have some nostalgic value to me, I guess. Some, very little. But like, I know, they're bad. I just feel like they're pretty harmless, though. And this is coming from a guy who always complains about how they're getting things wrong in an adaptation, like showing Lemony Snicket's face in a series of unfortunate events on Netflix, or having Professor Poopy Pants and Red the Turbo Toilet 2000 in the upcoming Captain Underpants movie. I hate that kind of stuff. And this movie does so much of that. Like completely changing Nermal's character from being the cutest cat in the world to just being a dumb cat that hangs out with Garfield that looks like a real cat even though Garfield's like super cartoony. And also making Odie be like a real dog. And having John be played by a conventionally attractive man when he's supposed to be like the most dweeby guy ever. And having him and Liz have actual chemistry even if it is poorly done because the movie's not good. When in the comics it pretty much goes like John is always trying to get with Liz and she's really not interested at all and John's just like a creep. There are whole Tumblr blogs dedicated to why John Arbuckle is a creep, but I'm not even gonna try to get into all that. I don't even know if that stuff is satirical anymore, if they actually think John Arbuckle, the character from Garfield, is the Antichrist. But yeah, needless to say, this movie gets so much about Garfield wrong, but it gets the character of Garfield pretty much right, and that's really enough for a movie like this because honestly, the movie isn't about the Garfield comic strip, it's about the character Garfield. Sure, they have the other characters, John and Odie and Nermal, because they're important characters in Garfield, but the only thing this movie tried to be faithful to was the iconic character on lunchboxes and everything, the big brand name Garfield. And even though the movie wasn't very good, it's Garfield the movie and it does that right, with Garfield, and he just monologues a lot of the time, which is what Garfield does. A lot of his lines aren't very good, but it does still feel like Garfield, even if it is a kind of exaggerated version. And Bill Murray's performance is excellent. I know he probably regrets doing the movie, like he said before in other movies, but I'm so glad he did it, even if the movies weren't very good, because he's the perfect person to voice Garfield. This has been said before on Rick and Morty specifically, I guess, but I already had this thought in my head before they said it. Lorenzo Music voiced Garfield in the old Garfield cartoons like Garfield and Friends, and he also voiced Bill Murray's character in the Ghostbusters cartoon show. But he passed away before they made this Garfield movie, and so of course Bill Murray is the perfect replacement. I mean, sure, there have been other cartoons later on like the Garfield show where Frank Welker voiced Garfield, and he did a fine job. I mean, he pretty much sounds like Lorenzo Music. Even if that show isn't great, I mean, the animation is not very good, and the plots didn't really interest me as much as Garfield and Friends did. They were fine, just not very interesting, except there is one episode, apparently they did, where they brought Lyman back. And if you don't know who Lyman is, when the Garfield comics started, Odie was introduced as Lyman's pet dog, and Lyman is just John's friend who stayed with him for a little bit, just crashing at his place. And then eventually Lyman just disappeared. They didn't say anything about it. He just stopped being in the comics, and then Odie was apparently John's dog. And unfortunately, not a lot of people know this, and they think Odie is John's dog, but he's not. He's Lyman's dog. People don't even know who Lyman is. I remember in 2009, I dressed up as Lyman for Halloween to help spread awareness of the character. And then, of course, in this Garfield movie, the story starts with John adopting Odie from the animal shelter, which is complete bullshit. They're just trying to cover up the fact that John has Lyman chained up in his basement. I'm not even making that up. That's like semi-canon. But I haven't seen that episode of the Garfield show. I really need to get around to that because holy shit. Yeah, sorry I got sidetracked there, but Lyman is really important to me. What was I saying? Oh, right, Frank Welker. He's an okay voice, but Bill Murray was the perfect choice. And I'm hoping if they ever do another Garfield movie, fingers crossed, completely separate from this shit, that they get Bill Murray to do the voice again, if he's not dead yet. You may think a Garfield movie is a stupid idea. It already didn't work because you can't make a movie out of Garfield as a comic strip. Well, I think there's two ways they could make a really good Garfield movie. The first way is the way Peanuts did it, and it's been really successful for them. They started as a comic strip, but then evolved into cartoons, and then eventually into specials and movies. And Garfield has Garfield and Friends, which is like the perfect adaptation of Garfield to the screen. And if they made a movie along those lines, which they kind of have had. They had specials with Garfield, like Garfield Halloween special and stuff. They could make a nice looking CGI animated movie in the same kind of spirit as the Garfield and Friends show, with Bill Murray doing the voice. And that would be great. That could be a great movie, like the Peanuts movie. Just do the Garfield movie. I mean, this shitty one was called Garfield the Movie, so it's not like you'd have two movies with the same name. Don't have to worry about that. And it's been proven to work with Garfield and Friends. The animated version of Garfield, I think, is even better than the comic strip in a lot of ways. It's funnier, it's more fleshed out. The comic strip is actually kind of boring sometimes. A lot of people make fun of it because they say the only jokes are that he hates Mondays and likes lasagna. And they're not entirely wrong, but Garfield and Friends branches out a lot more than that. And that works, so they can do a full movie like that. And the other way they could do it, it's pretty silly, it's something that's never gonna happen, but I think they could make a full-length Lasagna Cat movie. And if you don't know what Lasagna Cat is, you should look it up. It's great. It's these amazing tribute videos to John Davis on YouTube, made by these guys called Fatal Farm. It's on its own channel, Lasagna Cat, and they're the most bizarre, creative, amazing things. Just so weird. They do live action recreations of famous Garfield sketches, followed by crazy, twisted, sort of music video tributes that have to do with the particular strip that they just reenacted. And they just uploaded a new batch of those after 9 years of nothing, and it's better than ever, and it's amazing. And if you do know what Lasagna Cat is, you might be thinking, how can they make a movie out of that? That doesn't make any sense. Well, they kind of already have made over an hour-long video out of just a script of them breaking down one particular Garfield comic, the infamous pipe strip. So if they can do that, then I think they could probably take one of the Garfield storylines from early on in the comic. They used to do storylines that would continue every day. Garfield kicks Odie off the table in one, John sees it in another, so on and so on. And they could make like a full movie out of that. And it might be a little boring, but if people like After Last Season, then I think people are gonna love this. Throw in a little bit of weird humor here and there, but like the thing is, you gotta keep it G, like Garfield. I don't mean like the first letter of his name, but whatever. General audiences. I think they could get it approved by Jim Davis and have like an actual Garfield movie that's like the Lasagna Cat reenactment style. And that would be perfect, because honestly, when they're not being off the wall crazy in the videos, their portrayals of John and Odie and Garfield are actually pretty spot on. And I was thinking I'd love to see a Garfield movie with those portrayals. Even if it was just reenacting the strips, I think that could be entertaining in its own right. Of course, this is just a fantasy that's never going to happen, but it's nice to dream about these things. Yeah. Now, what else did I want to say about Garfield the movie? Oh, I mean, this should go without saying, because these movies are really just... It's like they put Garfield in a cheesy family comedy from the 2000s, which is what it is. And that's really what it feels like, just like a bad cheesy comedy from the 2000s. And so the villains in these movies are just terrible. Like, the most cliche, bad acting, just terrible villains. The bad guy in the first one is pretty bad. I think Billy Connolly in the second one is even worse. I don't think he's really a bad actor, but he totally phoned it in. Everyone in these movies was just phoning it in, except for Bill Murray, and also Tim Curry, which not only rhymes, but he played Garfield's twin in the second one, which is another excellent casting choice. I feel like Bill Murray is the only one who put any effort into this, which is great. He didn't half-ass it at all. He really, even with this terrible dialogue, he did an amazing job. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the best portrayal of Garfield, because Lorenzo Music, but it was still great, especially under the terrible circumstances of it being a shitty movie. So yeah, he just did an amazing job. Okay, well, I think that's all I'm gonna say about the Garfield movies. Oh, I forgot to say, by the way, I give Garfield a 5 out of 10, and I gave Garfield Tale of Two Kitties 4.5 out of 10. It was just a little bit more boring, not even as interesting as the first one. I don't know. You know, I already said all this in a video I already recorded that was 40 minutes of footage, and it felt like it was gonna be great. It was gonna turn into this great Garfield review that I was gonna be really proud to upload, but then the footage got corrupted, and I'm left with having to re-record and try to figure out what it is I said in those 40 minutes, and re-say it, and still try to be funny and like redo the jokes I thought of on the spot when I was recording it the first time. And it's really not the same, so if that shows, I guess I'm sorry, especially since this is the second to last daily review I'm ever gonna do. And I was excited that I thought it was gonna be something I'm gonna be proud of, but I don't think that's gonna be the case anymore. And the reason I'm not doing these anymore is just because, well, stuff like this for one thing, I guess, but mostly it takes me like an entire day just to do one review. When I started this, I figured I would just watch a movie and then talk about it and then upload it. Well, on the first day I realized I was gonna have to do some heavy editing to the videos, because I have such long pauses when I'm talking that if I just uploaded it straight, it would be the most excruciatingly boring, cringy stuff. So that's what editing is for. So like, I'm going to college in the fall, and I don't want to waste every day doing one of these reviews and nothing else, because I'm not going to have much more free time left in my life. This is pretty much it, and I'm doing these reviews. So I think I'll just revisit this concept much later in life, and maybe I can get someone else to edit them. I don't know. But until then, I'm still gonna do some of these videos sometimes. I'll just be calling them movie vlogs. Maybe I'll do book vlogs and video game vlogs and album vlogs, TV show vlogs too. Same as the movie ones, just about different stuff. And hopefully that means they'll be better quality too. Up until now, I've just been shitting out one of these a day, and sometimes I was proud of them, sometimes I was just like, okay, whatever. And sometimes I wasn't proud of them at all, like the ones that say half-assed in the title. But that's okay, because that's what the daily video process is like. I mean, I think Jonathan Mann would say something along the same lines. He's who inspired me to do these videos with his Song a Day series, even though this doesn't even compare to those. Like, he does a song every day. I don't know, he deserves way more appreciation than he gets. But yeah, anyway, I did really like some of these that came out of it, like the 8 Mile review, or the Yentl review, or the April Fool's video. I had a lot of fun with that one. So I think from now on, I'll only do these type of videos if I think it'll be something that I at least somewhat like those. I don't know, I've been talking about this way too long now. Just, yeah, tomorrow will be the last one, stopping at 100. Until then, there is one thing I forgot to say about Garfield, actually. Look at what it says on the DVD. Charming. Thumbs up, Roger Ebert. Probably the most trusted movie critic of all time says Garfield, this movie that I'm pretty sure is critically panned like all around. He says it's charming and that he gives it a thumbs up. Did they pay him? Like, I thought he was trustworthy, but like, he's giving Garfield a good review. Did they just approach him on the street and say, hey Roger, what do you think of Garfield? And he thought they meant the comic strip, and he's like, oh yeah, Garfield, it's charming. He didn't even say thumbs up, he just gave it thumbs up. Or maybe I'm overthinking this and the $5 DVD at Stop and Shop isn't to be trusted. That could be the case, that they just put it on there. Right, anyway, tomorrow I'm going to see a movie I've been meaning to see for a while. I think you all know what movie I'm talking about. I don't know why I say you all, because no one's watching these. I've said it multiple times in these reviews. I still haven't seen this movie. Tomorrow, I'm finally gonna see it. So I guess, stay tuned for that. Ow! See you tomorrow!
Who's there?
Ryan Pfeiffer.
Ryan Pfeiffer who?
I'm very disappointed in you, Garfield.